Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Sorry, I'm a little bit late, but trying to get all these pictures and clips, and there's so much going on and so much drama on the seas and uh, in the Congress. So I hope everybody's doing well tonight. And I'm going to play this clip of Nancy Pelosi. I've been promising to play it about the wrap-up smear. I want to see how my stream is doing as far as being able to play clips. So let me play this real quick, and we'll get into all the topics I've on my thumbnail.
Self-fulfilling. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
It's self-evident. She calls it a tactic, but in my past videos, I had method of operations. It is a method of operation. They don't just use the wrap-up smear for these political situations she's talking about. As we know, they use the wrap-up smear for criminality. They've been doing it against Mr. T since 2016. So let me see who else here. Alicia, hi, Mike, Damon, Linda. How are you? Georgia, B-Dog, Lucy, Debbie, how are you doing? Lori, Wilma, how are you, Wilma? So I was running late and didn't have a lot of time to set up my studio, so I'll be importing some pictures if you all will be patient with me. Of course, we've got this situation with the submarine, and I got my thoughts on the matter in the comments. What do you all think in the chats and in the comments if you're viewing this video after the live stream? The outside range for the oxygen supply be around lunchtime or a little bit after Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So we've got that going on, and at the same time, we're dealing with the Biden crime family, as they say. So I'm going to go over some clips I've gotten about the submarine, but I'm going to be discussing beforehand some of the things that have been going on in Congress with Durham. And some people are disappointed. I mean, Matt Gaetz gave him a hard time. And I think if you listen to what he's saying with I'm trying to import these pictures in, with a really selective mind, if you listen to the details in what Durham says, that's what I'm trying to get at, the details. But anyway, here we've got right here, the way America's feeling, most of America, unless, of course, you got that famous three-letter syndrome that starts with a T, ends with an S, and has a D in the middle. Let's see. Shifty as a clown. Yes, that's true. Hi, Robin. How are you? Hi, Henri Rubbertoe. Jamie. Let's see. Tubla. If I miss anybody, please forgive me. The chats are small. I try to catch them as I can. Bubba, how you doing, Bubba? Glad you made it tonight. The owner didn't want to hire pilots not diverse enough to dive. Well, that's true. He did make comment. He made a lot of comments. And I saw Donald Jr. getting into some notion that there's something bigger about this submarine situation than what's being reported. And I go over that. I'll put it that way. I'll go over that. Really, you need a PlayStation remote, Debbie says. Well, hi, Melinda. Somebody put in a chat I was watching, I think it was on Frank's NPC show, that they should have used an old Atari remote. But the owner was from me watching him do his own videos, for me watching him do his interviews, he was cavalier. He was cavalier in certain respects. And I will play some video that I think you all will find very exciting, very interesting. And I will give you my thoughts on the matter. I came to a conclusion last night after our live stream last night. So, anyway, Shifty Schiff. A lot of people are saying, "Oh well, he didn't get everything he should have got." Hunter, he didn't get everything he should have got. Keep in mind, folks, that this stuff that's happening is not the end of the story, all right, for these individuals. Schiff is not in no way off the hook, and Hunter still has liability for things that have happened on that laptop. This is getting the gun charge, and I'll tell you about that gun charge. One of his defenses, his main defense, was that claiming someone is abusing illegal drugs was unconstitutionally used to deprive him of his Second Amendment rights. That was a case they did not want to have go before the Supreme Court because it's a valid argument. It's a valid argument. We all know there's different degrees of dependency, different types of drugs. And somebody says, oh, he's taking, he took aspirin he shouldn't have had or something like that. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I'm trying to import pictures so I can get to the next subject. H.A. Goodman says, Schiff, look it up to a 6. Yeah, I used to watch H.A. He's the whole thing about that first vote that was kicked out. Imagine if our Congress got into the business of fining people tens of millions of dollars by a simple vote. That's not the way our justice system works. I don't like Adam Schiff. I think he should pay a price. But that's not the way we do business in this country. By a political body voting punishment. We have trials. Everybody has a chance to defend themselves, call witnesses, meet their accusers, all that good stuff. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that you can have a punishment meted out by a bunch of politicians voting, okay? So I can see why a lot of Republicans did not vote for it. So, we got to put our passions aside. Otherwise, we end up like the TDS people, okay? We don't want to be like that. Schiff will meet some consequences for what he's been doing. Now I am going to if you all will give me a moment, I'm going to go ahead and load a lot of stuff up in my studio. But I will start. Let me see. I'll put this up about Shifty. Okay, here. Adam Schiff. Only 20 in U.S. history. This is from DC Drain. It's a start. It's the beginning. Adam Schiff has been officially censored by Congress. He will now have to stand in front of Congress while Speaker McCarthy scolds him for his role in aiding and abetting illegal spying on President Trump. Humiliating. And it's true. He will have to, according to the rules and according to censure, he has to stand in what's called the well of the House. And he's isolated right smack in front of the speaker. And his list of infractions, I'll say, will be read off and he will be scolded. Now, you know that Jim Jordan is going to be very, very particular and diligent in his wording of how this is going to happen. I've got to get this out of the way so I can see the chats. But you see, I don't want you staring at Nancy either, and I got to get some pictures in the. Here we go. I'll be Speaker of the House right there. Now I can read the chats a little better. Let me see. Somebody, I've had enough. I want to fight back like they do. Well, Tubala said you want to fight back like they do. I have said many times, fighting fire with fire is a good way to burn down the house. Hi, Gloria. How are you? Phil, how are you doing? Bug-eyed pencil neck. Jersey Joe. That's right. He's a bug-eyed pencil neck. Yeah, he is going to be, the world is going to be watching this, okay, with Shifty Schiff. The world is going to be watching. And let me go here. And that does not relieve him of any criminal responsibility. If any is found, it does not relieve him of any national security breaches that may bring about punishment. Okay? So, and that's the same with Hunter Biden. This plea agreement, from what I understand, is very specific. And to the charges that are discussed. Let me see. Oh gosh, that's weird. I don't want to put that in there. I'm getting some of these issues up that I'm going to go over. I don't know how much of this I have cropped out, but we shall see. But I do want to get to the submarine business. And so we'll go through these subjects we're talking about now before we get to the submarine business. Let's see. All right, there we go. Now, here is a biggie that Mr. T put up. Actually, it looks like actual copies of the text messages between Page and Strzok. Shadow Dancer, how you doing? They voted, EM, yes, they voted today. It was 100% party lines. 100% of the Republicans, I think it was 213, voted to censure him. And whatever was left of the Democrats, 208 or whatever it is, voted not to censure him. So he has been censored. What is left now to schedule it and for him to take his medicine. Okay, this is a public excoriation, is how it's referred to, a public excoriation. And if you think of the fact that of how many representatives we've had in the history of this country, what do we have now? We have 425. Well, how many is it? Every 2 years, we're electing more. You do the math, 200 coming up on 250 years, only 25, okay, out of thousands of representatives. Since this is not going to happen, what do you think? Adam's going to refuse to subject himself to censure? I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, here's Donald Trump. The sleazebags got caught. Full details in the Durham report. And this is House Judiciary GOP, your FBI at work. And this looks like a real screenshot of their actual texts. And Lisa Page says, Trump's not going to become president, right? Right? And he says, Peter Strzok says, no, he's not. We'll stop it, okay? On government phones. So we'll see about that. Oh, by the way, here's a little beauty tip. In case there's any libs watching, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA put this out. A new study shows that good-looking women are more likely to be right-wingers. Angry and bitter women are more likely to be left-wing. So follow me for more beauty tips. Anyway, here we have Mr. T put out again. He didn't let grass grow under his feet. And Matt Gaetz really gave Durham a hard time. We can go over that, but he's keeping the passion up, I think. Here Trump put out, John Durham reveals FBI kept intel on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, link Trump with Russia collusion in 2016 from agents working in the case. What does that sound like to you all? John Durham reveals FBI kept intel to link Trump. We showed him the intelligence information, and he indicated he had never seen it before. Well, what is that tactic? What is that tactic when you try to link somebody to something? And for those of you who weren't in, I played this earlier. I'll play it again. It's called the wrap-up smear, and they use it in many different scenarios, including to be subversive to our duly elected government.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
Now, I said earlier in the broadcast, for those of you who weren't here, she calls it a tactic, but I'm saying that it is viewed as a criminal modus operandi in these situations. And since it says, I'm sorry, but this crap is way out of hand too long, there's only one thing we can do now. We've come this far and we uncovered so much, and we've got to be a unified nation, a unified an informed nation. And it isn't easy. It takes work. Where that meme I put up yesterday that said information. Here you go. Knowledge isn't free. You have to pay attention. So this is a very sophisticated operation we're going through to get people to be informed. We have to bind the nation's wounds. Okay, folks? So I know we're all sick of it, but we got to keep moving on. We come this far. Now, I'm going to play, let me see if I can find that. I'm going to play a clip from Durham, what I think is one of the most important things he said. But here's another thing Donald J. Trump put out. What Durham said, there's not a single substantive piece of information in the Steele dossier that has ever been corroborated by the FBI or, to my knowledge, by anyone else. Nothing's been corroborated. It was all smoke and mirrors. Oh, I tell you what I got to put up. I got to put where I had some comments. I answered somebody. Let me see if I can find that. What MSNBC was working on UTIZL. Let me pull that up. That might have got overlooked down here. It just goes to show you the mindset. And we've got to remember, these are our fellow Americans we're talking about. Well, I'm not talking about making friends with the ones who are causing the misinformation to go out. I'm talking about we got to try to make up or reach out to the people who are victims of the misinformation. Let me see if I can pull that up. Here we go. This one and this one. There. All right. This is what MSNBC put up. Prison. Former President Donald Trump is caught on Fox News admitting that he withheld classified documents only to return some of them. And they have a link to their goofy little YouTube video. And it is so infuriating. I know it is. But, and I have been refraining from responding to these types of things because I think it contributes to me getting kicked off UTIZL when I comment in a animated manner. But excuse me while I get a sip of my coffee. Anyway, the bottom line is all the presidents have the right to hold those copies of those documents. They're not originals. They're copies. They're part of presidential records. But here's my response. Where I did not get now, tell me how unusual this is. I didn't get a thumbs down. I didn't get a thumbs up. I didn't get anybody commenting against me. I put in there, he has the highest security clearance, unrevocable. These documents are copies that he is allowed to possess. And then I said, remember, illegal psychological warfare campaigns, strong penalties. Okay? The truth of the matter is, whether they hate Trump, they think that they kicked him out of office and impeached him twice and all this nonsense. The bottom line is he's the 45th president of the United States with the highest security clearance you can get. Nobody in the current administration can remove his clearance. He's authorized to possess them, to possess those documents. It's that damn simple. And the librarian, okay, for the National Archives has no authority over the President of the United States, former or current. So, and I brought up the fact that they're repeating this garbage up here. Confession to prison is warfare campaign. I didn't get one response, nothing. But here's the just two of the mouth breathing simpletons that don't understand how our government works, how national security works, how the military works. Like the military's too stupid to know who has possession of documents and where they are. But anyway, this character says it's weird that someone who spends so much time in bold letters confessing to his crimes on tape still hasn't made it to a prison cell. What ignorant, low IQ comment that is. And then here you have, that was the most bizarre and ignorant interview I've ever witnessed. Just as your lawyer, I advise you to testify just like that. You see how effective this is with the mouth breathers. And you'll never really take care of those mouth breathers. I mean, some of them, they're going to be permanently lost. The old term for them is called malcontents. They are just malcontents. And there's only so much you can do with a malcontent. Let me see. I'm going to get the rest of these pictures in the studio so we can go over them. Let me see where I left off. Okay. Well, I'm going to, before we get into the sub talk, I didn't get a chance to check the chats. Nothing's working as it's supposed to. That's right. Once that is shown that the civilian mechanisms of government can no longer function in the manner as they are intended, that's when we're going to see something happen. Hi, Donna. How are you doing? The Korean girl in the background. Oh, in the photograph? I see her. Maybe she's Filipino. I don't know. On this photo with Durham, I've got it right now. I don't know. But anyway, let's see what we got here. Here we go. I want to get some of this stuff out of the way. Representative Twonells. The FBI lied and said it's possible that President Trump was with hookers peeing on each other. Now imagine if somebody said this about Eric Swalwell and Yum Yum. And that's exactly what this representative said. And everybody in the House started going, ooh, and moaning and groaning at the top of their lungs because he said things that were true about Eric Swalwell. I didn't get the clip where one so-called representative actually called Trump a white supremacist. And it's in the congressional record, and it's on video. No one batted an eye. And by proxy, calling everybody that supports Trump a white supremacist. So, here's some good news and a sign of things to come. Disgraced former CNN producer sentenced to 19 years. 19 years for child S3X crimes. If you all remember this, I went over it where they did a sting and caught this character. And I won't get into the details, except that he was trying to get a mother who was abusive to her children to bring her child across state lines. I always like saying that, to participate in some sick activities. But anyway, John Griffin, 45, confessed to coercing a woman online into bringing her 9-year-old daughter to Ludlow, Vermont for illicit acts. Okay? So, if memory serves me right, there were 2 of these individuals that got caught, 2 producers for CNN. So, one of them is, hey, 19 years is a long time. And so that tells me he did not cooperate to their satisfaction, okay? And his case has been put to bed very quickly. The other one out there, we'll see what happens. But there were supposedly 3 other adult individuals involved in this. And if you remember, not long after this, these arrests, Jeff Zucker, okay, the militant midget that was in charge of CNN, he left because he had an inappropriate relationship with a female employee or some nonsense like that. So maybe this other person might get some kind of psychiatric treatment and be put in some facility for, where you won't be exposed to the regular prison population. Who knows? So it'll be interesting to watch how this pans out. But I tell you, blasts from the past. I'm going to show you a video. As we all know, let me get these videos in the studio that I took clips of. The submarine, Durham, a number of different things that I've taken clips of. Oh, I might as well get them all in there so I don't lose my spot. I was doing a little research on the Kennedy assassination. As we know, sometime in the near future, that's going to be coming up. Correct? Not only the entire nation, but I believe the entire world will be talking about the Kennedy assassination. There's no way out of it. Trump said he is going to put it out there when he gets in. And that's another reason why they're desperate. So, and we're talking about people leaving the media. But anyway, let me play this clip for you and see what you catch. I will explain what this is before I play it. This is a gentleman. And if you do watch the interview with him, he is a consummate gentleman who was in the operating room 18 inches away from the wound to Kennedy's head. He was in there minutes after Kennedy arrived at Parkland Hospital. He helped intubate President Kennedy. And he's being interviewed here about the direction of the bullet. And I took a screenshot of this because I thought there was something very interesting. And let's see what you all think. I'll play it now. I'll cut my mic off.
But I think he said, and don't quote me on this, but I think he said that he thought it entered from the front of here.
Where do you think it came from?
Well, I think that he was correct in his first statement. As I've looked back over the years, and what is in my mind is that, and I saw this was confirmed when I saw the Zapruder film of the assassination sometime in the middle 70s when it was first released by Abraham Zapruder. And I came home one night and my wife was watching the Johnny Carson show, and she said, "Oh, come in here quick because Geraldo Rivera is on Johnny Carson and he's acquired a copy of the Zapruder film of the assassination." So I quickly went in and sat down just before they rolled that film. And as we sat there, we saw the motorcade turning off onto Elm Street and coming down toward the triple underpass and coming down slowly toward that. And as he approached the triple underpass, he was all of a sudden, earlier, was hit in the back, and he raised his hands to his neck like that. And I think that's when the first bullet that hit him came in the back and came out his neck, and his hands went to his neck. And then the motorcade slowly moved down toward the triple underpass, and as they got, a moment or two later, Mrs. Kennedy realized that something was wrong, and she leaned over to him as if to say, "What's the matter?" And as she did that, the bullet struck him in the front, which I think in front of the president's motorcade, and caused the fatal wound, blew out the back of his head and the black part of his brain, the back part of his cerebrum and cerebellum.
So I'm just looking at the comments, see if anybody picked up anything. Because what we're doing now, we are finding out how this illegal psychological warfare campaign has been formed and being conducted. Hello, Christina. Let's see. Cindy says RFK Jr. gave his live press conference and referred to constantly to JFK's presidency, plans for unity. I believe it counts involvement in Johnson entirely about JFK. Okay, yeah, that's right. He's going to keep talking about it too. And but what did you all catch out of this clip that I just played about the illegal warfare, illegal psychological warfare campaign? Hi, Andrew. How are you? And Robin, thank you for your service, honey. You've been a long time supporter of the channel. Rock and Robin. You and Aaron, AIRUN. He's the godfather, the founder of Buy Me a Coffee. And Robin, she very early helping with the channel. I appreciate it. But Robin, we got to follow the lead. Okay, we got to follow the lead. I'm sure Mr. T is doing things he would rather not do, but he's working very closely with top military to do what is the first law of war: how to achieve a goal with the least human suffering. Okay, I know people are suffering. I know we're at odds, but things could be a lot worse with the loss of civil society. Okay, we don't know what kind of FFs they could pull off with what kind of things they have control or had control over. But anyway, what did you all catch in that clip that I just played? And if you're keeping in mind what Mr. T said was an illegal psychological warfare campaign. Well, he brought up the Zapruder film. Okay, in the 70s. I'll see if anybody caught it. Come on, folks, we gotta be able to spot how they've infiltrated our country. I'll play it now. Stop it right at the point That's the big hint. Something I didn't even think about or know. Okay. Not that I'm an expert, but when I heard this, I said, aha, this was last night after my broadcast. Let me play it again. I'll stop it at the bingo moment. One of the ways they've infiltrated our country.
I can't remember the details about it, but I think it was a question about the direction in which the bullet entered the president's head, from the front or the back. Excuse me, what Dr. Perry said, but I think he said, and don't quote me on this, but I think he said that he thought it entered from the front of here.
And then later changed the testimony that came in from the back.
That's right.
Where do you think it came in from?
Well, I think that he was correct in his first statement. As I've looked back over the years, and what is in my mind is that, and I saw this was confirmed when I saw the Zapruder film of the assassination sometime in the middle 70s, when it was first released by Abraham Zapruder. And I came home one night, and my wife was watching the Johnny Carson show, and she said, "Oh, come in here quick, because Geraldo Rivera is on Johnny Carson, and he's acquired a copy of the Zapruder film of the assassination."
In the 1970s, Geraldo Rivera goes on Johnny Carson show because he acquired a copy of the Zapruder film. Geraldo Rivera. We know now that the Zapruder film was tampered with. It was made to seem to be that two frames were reversed to make it appear that JFK's head flew forward like he'd been shot from the back 2 times, once through the neck and once in the back of the head. But this doctor was in the operating room, and I won't get too graphic, but he describes the wound. And he knew then, and he knew when he saw the doctored version of the Zapruder film that Geraldo Rivera brought out to the Johnny Carson show. Even with the reversed frames, he knew the bullet came from the front. But my question is not about where bullets came from. We all know now that it couldn't have been just Oswald. We all know now that one came from the back, and we know that one came from the front. And many other things we know now. Many other shots, bullets, happenings. But how does a young punk journalist get a copy of the Zapruder film and end up on a famous show like Johnny Carson's? Infiltration. Somebody coming on board and delivering a message, okay? Maintaining a deep state message. Presenting the Zapruder film to the American people through an unknown journalist that's been tampered with. And, by the way, what do we find out today? Geraldo Rivera. 5. My last scheduled show appearances are Thursday and Friday, June 29th to the 30th. It's been a great run, and I appreciate having had the opportunity. Being odd man out isn't always easy. For the time being, I'm still correspondent at large. Geraldo could have been witting or unwitting part of the Mockingbird media. Recruited at a young age. Gets fame and fortune very quickly. Gets his hands on something that the government had. Long before Geraldo put it on Johnny Carson's show in the 70s, they had it long enough to tamper with it. Right? And there's another article about Geraldo, as we used to call him, where, wait a second, he was supposedly getting in fights with people. I'll pull it up if I find it. Saying he was getting in arguments with Dan Bongino. Here we go. Jack Posobiec put it out. Jack Poso. Geraldo Rivera departs Fox News, The Five, and amid disputes with co-hosts. Okay? Well, wait a second. Rivera furiously called Dan Bongino a son of a bee and remarked that he is nothing but a punk. Well, didn't Dan Bongino leave Fox News like a month ago? Hi, Lone Wolf. How you doing? Hi, Dottie. So I find that very interesting. With all the named journalists back then in the 70s, a lot of us remember them. Peter Jennings, Ted Koppel. I believe Walter Cronkite was still broadcasting then. Dan Rather. All these big names. And you come up with this Geraldo Rivera gets a exclusive copy of the Zapruder film that had been tampered with by the CIA, or tampered with by a party. I'll put it that way. A government entity. Okay. But we know Mr. T's got a handle on it because he keeps predicting things. Small. Former President Donald Trump correctly predicted Hunter Biden will be charged with something small just weeks before the president's son is set to plead guilty to 2 federal tax violation charges. I hope my chats are not in the way like they were on that one broadcast. Remember, Robin, you told me I looked at the video. You were right. I don't know what caused that, and I hope it's not happening this time. I have no way of knowing unless people let me know in the chats. But anyway, here's what I say. Was one of the biggest things that Durham came out with today. Because, he's confirming everything we know. We're like, yeah, we know. When are you going to arrest people, right? But the rest, Jersey Joe says 5 by 5. That's good. I'm just talking about the chats were like frozen on the screen for some reason on one of my broadcasts. But anyway, here's the way John Durham handled this creep. Has been on eating chicken on the House floor, making an idiot of himself. And listen to how he tries to treat John Durham, and listen to John Durham's response.
Trump campaign to elect Trump.
My assignment was to look at the conduct of some separate investigation that was done by the House, or that's done by the Senate, or was done by Director Mueller.
You don't think that if the intelligence communities, the FBI, and others came up with this information and did good work, that should be part of your balanced report?
I'm not following your question. I apologize.
Well,
If it's a
I've
question-
tried to follow your report. Mr. Donald Trump Jr. would have called it a nothing burger. You got no convictions. You got nothing. It was all set up to hurt the Mueller report, which was correct and was redacted, to hurt the Bidens and to help Trump. And you were a part of it. You have a good reputation. You had a good reputation. That's why the two Democrats supported you. But the longer you hold on to Mr. Barr and this report that Mr. Barr gave you as special counsel, your reputation will be damaged. As everybody's reputation who gets involved with Donald Trump is damaged, he's damaged goods. There's no good dealing with him because you will end up on the bottom of a pyre. I yield back the balance of my time.
Sure.
Can we presume the gentleman's undecided on how he feels about the former president?
Gentlemen, witness can respond.
Yeah, my concern about my reputation is with the people who I respect and my family and my Lord. And I'm perfectly comfortable with my reputation with them, sir.
Well said. God bless you.
He said he's worried about his reputation with the people he respects, his family, and his Lord. And that was an excellent way to let that clown know that he does not respect him. And he got applause for that. And I'm reading, Shadow Dancer said Durham is taking entirely too long, too many years to report his book report. Well, let me tell you, they dump a bunch of stuff on people's heads, information. 1/3 of it or 25% of it's going to get through. It's got to be a drip, drip, drip. Because myself included, look how much time we spend, like on this submarine thing. Look how much time we spend. If there's somebody pulling a stunt at a school, we've gone over, tragedies in that area that take people away. Things have got to come out drip, drip, drip. The thing we have to ask ourselves is this situation with Durham, like Mueller. When Mueller turned his report in, that signaled the end of his investigation. Nowhere have I heard that this was the end of the Durham investigation. Is this an interim report? I submit to you that it is. That this is going to be ongoing. This is a progress report, not a final report. Okay? And it just so happened that Durham's answers, his behavior, his evidence he laid out, his secret or behind closed door testimony he gave yesterday, I don't think we would have got that unanimous Republican vote to censor Adam Schiff if it hadn't been for Durham. Now, Adam Schiff's misdeeds are going to be singular news event, a singular news event. Every news station is going to cover him standing in the well of the house and hearing, and he has to keep his mouth shut while Jim Jordan tells him all the rotten things he's done. And I'm going to be very interested in listening to every word of it. Are they frozen on the screen again, Donna? I don't know why that does that. I don't know why it does that. But anyway, so what do you all think? Do you agree with me? This could be an interim report. And we're going to go through an education process. Here you go. Here's a nice meme for you guys. I'll put it over here so the frozen chats don't block my pictures. That's the main thing, right? Dottie says, I agree about the report. Bubba says 5 by 5. No, Donna, you're not crazy. Wanda says you're not crazy, so you are not crazy. Junior is a special prosecutor for gangs and cartels. Well, B-Dog, we know that the gangs and cartels have already been insinuated into Arizona politics with phony deeds of trust, money laundering, going right to the top in Arizona, right, B-Dog? And money laundering, who's in charge of money laundering? That's a quiz. You all tell me what you remember from what I said. Who was in charge of investigating and prosecuting money laundering, international money laundering? Yeah, I'll just put my memes over to the right because I can't do anything about the chats being stuck. I can't do anything about it. Let me see if I got a button I could push. I don't see anything. That is aggravating. Let me see here. What do you... I can't even see the chats now. They're gone. I pushed a button. I hope I could push it back. During this period here, did those frozen chats disappear? Because I pushed a button to take the chats off my screen. Let's see. Here. Did they just disappear temporarily? I don't know. But anyway, let's move along. I'll see if anybody answers. Who is in charge of money laundering? We're going to be hearing about it. Oh, here you go. I got this from Citizens Free Press. Nice knowing you. Bye now. Greta Thunberg, a top climate scientist, is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels over the next 5 years. And that was June 21st, 2018. Robin says, no, it's stuck. Well, I don't know why it does that. It's a flaw in the platform. Nothing that I'll have to email them. Yeah, it's sometimes it does it, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. I do not know. Let's see. We're going to get the submarine business. What do you all think the chances of the people in the submarine being rescued? PJ Media, Donald J. Trump put this out. And this could be very, very big. When DJT puts it up, remember, he predicts the future, right? Exclusive. Previous target of DOJ's Trump legal hit squad alleges witness payoff scheme. Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith is overseeing the current investigation into the indictment of Donald Trump. But USA Today reported Smith built his reputation and with all these phony stuff, but they're paying off witnesses, namely witness tampering. So that's something that's going to be gotten to the bottom of. Here we go. See what else Mr. T had to say. New York Times. The New York Times. This is big because the New York Times doesn't do anything favorable to Mr. T or MAGA, right? As archives leans on ex-presidents, its only weapon is pleas. That's quoting Donald Trump from the Bret Baier interview. Donald Trump said, the only thing the archives has any authority to do is say, please, will you please give us these things we want from you? And the authority of the president and the ex-president is to say, I'll give it to you when I feel like it, if I feel like it. That's the bottom line, no matter what the press says. Gary hit it. The submarine will surface. Let me see. It's hard to read that with the we got a prediction about the submarine with JFK Jr. and Princess Diana aboard. Oh, that would be super. Oh, I got this stupid cat. Maybe get a cheap tablet so you don't have to use your phone. Just a suggestion. I already have one. It doesn't work very good because it's got to work on Wi-Fi, and it doesn't. You got to do it direct, and it's not my phone. It's something in the platform that causes that, because they did an update on the platform how it works, and then it started doing that after the update. So I have to email them. But all suggestions are welcome. Thank you. Here's a submarine. How would you like to be trapped in this thing? Now, as I said, Don Jr. said that he thought there was something suspect about what was going on. But I want to play a video I watched last night, and I will have to stop it and talk during it, just because I have to comment on things. I just can't play other people's videos. But let's see. Yeah, it looks like a poker game. There's only one person, according to this diagram, that could stick their legs out. And I watched a video that actually showed the actual inside of the vessel. And it is incredibly small. It's 22 feet, okay? And you can see there's close to, right at 30% of that 22 feet, there's no cabin space. The tail end of this thing, okay? I guess for buoyancy. So you got 5 people in about 12 feet, maybe 13. So anyway, here is a video that I don't think there's anything nefarious about this situation. Here's a meme somebody put up that is very telling. Your billionaires were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Robin says it had a restroom. It has a toilet. And the toilet is in the bubble. You pull it out and you sit in the bubble in the front on something that is the diameter of a 5-gallon bucket that has a pipe that goes to a holding tank of sorts. And you pull a curtain across the front of the, between you and the people 3 inches away from you. Let's see, I'm just looking at the chats. Well, Awakened Trillium, I will give you some news about that submarine. But anyway, let me play this video. I've got a number of clips I've gotten concerning this. Let me see where the first one is. It is a long clip. Here we go. And as I said, I'm going to stop it here and there and talk through it. Make my comments. But this is a video I watched last night, and it pretty much tells you quite a bit. Okay, I'll cut my mic off and start it.
And ocean engineering. Retired U.S. Navy Captain Don Walsh is a former submarine commander and this country's very first ever submersible pilot. Captain, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview tonight. You're just the perfect expertise for this. I'm going to start with a very simple question. Do you have optimism that they are going to be able to find this vessel?
No.
I would just stop the clip right there and say, there you have it. But I'm going to play more. But as you heard, he's the very first submersible submarine, deep diving submersible submarine pilot, retired U.S. Navy. This was yesterday. I watched it. It was filmed. This film was done. This interview was done well over a day ago, and you heard his answer. I'll continue the video.
That's a hard answer to hear. Tell me why you feel this way.
I've been around this business for more than 60 years, and I've seen a whole lot of things. I'm one of the signatories on that letter you're talking about, the New York Times, because those of us in the deep submergence business are really concerned. We only need one accident to get everybody excited and start questioning whether or not this was a safe kind of business, that is, putting man in submersibles, whether that man paid for a ticket or as a researcher or just doing some useful work in the ocean. And so it put a stain on all of us if they had an accident. And that's why we were trying to offer some cautionary advice to OceanGate, but clearly it wasn't taken.
It's hard to have this conversation given that Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, is one of the people on board right now whose life is in peril. But I do want to dig in a little deeper on this with you if I can. And thank you for informing me that you're one of the signatories on the letter. Can you help me understand the viewport, which is the big window through which the passengers and the pilot can see what's outside, presumably to see the...
Now, they both discussed a letter to the New York Times reported on that he and a number of other signatories sent to the company concerning the particular submarine that we're dealing with right now. She's also talking about the port, the glass port. And if you'll notice in the videos we've been watching, you'll see two different submarines. The one on the screen now has a smaller port window. Okay. Other clips have shown a window port covering the entire front, much larger. Okay. So anyway, I'll continue the video and you'll listen to about the letter, and the port doesn't unfortunately get addressed here, but it was an issue.
Wreck of the Titanic, presumably to see the flora, the fauna underwater. Is that the issue of this experimental craft, that the way the viewport was constructed, the engineering that allowed for that viewing port?
Well, as I recall, the viewport, as produced by the manufacturer, was not rated for that kind of depth. The manufacturer said this in delivering the viewport. Now, that's hearsay on my part because this all happened a while ago, and I've, gone off and done other things. But that was just one thing. A big thing was how the pressure hull was built. It's a wound filament sort of device, like fiberglass. I'm simplifying, but it's not solid metal. It's made out of probably a carbon glass fiber, something like that. Again, I'm sort of winging it here, but I think I'm close. And what they do is they wind it around and basically make a mesh of it. Well, that's really good for internal pressure. In fact, the rocket motors for many missiles use that kind of structure because if you've got the pressure inside, then and you're containing it with this woven fabric, if you will, it's very, very strong. But if the pressure's on the outside, we just don't know enough about that. And all of the protocols that we follow in building these manned submersibles or any kind of pressure, human occupancy pressure vessels like a diving chamber, things like that, we make out of conventional materials like metals, metallic materials, steel, titanium. We know how to do it, and we know how to measure the stresses and strains put on them. But this filament type of thing, we have no guidance on that. And the organizations, and there's several, they're called classification societies, which set down the rules for the design, the construction, and the operation and the maintenance of submersibles, manned submersibles.
Now, what he's saying there, he mentioned a key word too, which is maintenance. If a lot of people in the chats may remember how the airline industry and the military found out the hard way with aircraft about something called metal fatigue. Okay. But anyway, what he's saying is this particular sub. Now, you will see pictures of the big observation bubble in the front. Okay. And I noticed I've got a clip that'll tell you everybody's names that went down, photographs of all of them. But this gentleman is saying that there was no testing done, that the construction that was being used on the cylinder was to handle high pressure internal from rocket engines, and the external characteristics and abilities were never tested. They were just doing what they wanted to do. So anyway, I'll let the video continue playing.
And they have inspectors at every stage of the way. So issued, I'm on one of the advisory committees for the American Bureau of Shipping, which is the U.S.-based classification side. They do tankers, cargo ships, and submarines, submersibles. So it's all out there. Why they wanted to do this radical type of hull design, we just could never figure out. We being sort of our community, and that was the essence of.
He finished off by saying the essence of our letter. They wrote a letter pointing out the radical design of the hull, the material design of the hull, and he didn't get into it, but the porthole. And if you had noticed earlier in the video, this individual in 1960 took a submersible sub to the deepest part of the known ocean in the Marianas Trench. That was not repeated until James Cameron, who directed Titanic. And I have a clip of the person who built his submarine. James Cameron went to the deepest part of the Marianas Trench after this gentleman that just gave this interview, who pretty much, you might as well say, condemned the methods and the materials and the cavalier attitude of these people that were going on these expeditions. Now, this sub, before I get into that, let me go ahead and play this clip if I have it. Here we go. This is the sounds that they reported hearing. I'll play that in a minute. I think that is more hopium than anything else. But let me see here is another photo of a sub. We don't know which one went on this trip. You see the difference? You see the difference? In that bubble? It's not being reported to us, to the general public. I want to see if I can find that clip of the names of the people who went down. There was 5 of them. 5 of them. Let me see if I've got that. Okay, I think I know which one it is. Let me see. This one here. All right. This is the names of the people who are down there.
5 set off in the sub at 4 a.m. on Sunday. British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani tycoon Shahzada Dawood and son Suleiman, French explorer Paul-Henri Narguillet, and OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush. Halfway down to the Titanic, communication with the vessel was lost.
So that's 5 people. I can play it again. The owner of the company is one of the people down there. So I'll just play it again real quick.
5 set off in the sub at 4 a.m. on Sunday. British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani Paul-Henri Narguillet, and OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush. Halfway down to the Titanic, communication with the vessel was lost.
So halfway down, communication with the vessel was lost. We don't know if it was the submarine they keep showing with the little bubble in the front, or this great big bubble. Okay, but we do know that the construction was not in line with what the deep diving community agrees with. And let me play this brief clip and see what you pick up out of this that I picked up. That is not, it's being put out there if you look for it. But this should be stuff that the news, the press are telling people that you don't know unless you listen real hard and look for it in different videos.
People have gone down before, haven't they, in other sort of capsules? I seem to remember that James Cameron, the guy that directed Titanic, also took a trip in some small previous explorations down there. Has this company had success before, or is this the first of its kind?
I believe that the company has launched some prototype missions down there and that they were fine, but as far as I'm aware, Hamish Harding, one of the passengers, said on social media before going down that he expected this to be, because of the nature of the weather conditions and how small the window of opportunity was, he expected this to be the only manned craft going down there this year. So I don't believe that this specific model of craft has had a manned journey down there before.
This particular model has not had a manned crew go down there before. This is the first time they took this particular model down. And I'm thinking it's the one with the bigger observation glass in the front. And from what I've seen with this retired Navy pioneer, who very quickly at the beginning of his interview asked if they survived or was there a chance. He said no. So I'm going to play an interview now with the person who designed and built the submarine that James Cameron went down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Okay, and he is a very nice man, but I'll let him tell his story real quick.
Could go to their aid. When you're diving with submersibles, often these submersibles is a one-off. It's the only vehicle can get to the depths.
So if it's on the bottom of the ocean right now, there is no chance of the 5 people on board being rescued by Thursday afternoon?
If it's still on the bottom of the ocean, how can I say this? And, it's collapsed, they would be no longer. But usually if a pressure vessel were to collapse, it is fairly catastrophic. It's over in an instant. What would tend to happen is that the pressure hull there is like a geometric shape, a cylinder or a sphere, are inherently strong while they are a sphere or a cylinder. But as soon as they go out of round, bang, the thing's going to collapse, like a tin can.
How do we not know where this thing is? We can put a tracker on our kids. Surely we can keep tabs on a sub.
Yeah, look, there are location devices and they should be able to keep track. Deep Sea Challenger had an AIS system. Once the sub surfaced, it became a registered ship on a chart, and other shipping in the area would see it would come up as an AIS signal on their radar.
The fact that we don't know where it is, does that suggest to you that it is somewhere under the ocean?
Yeah, if it hasn't been located on the surface at this stage, it's saying they could be just waiting time for a release mechanism to act.
Now, what he's saying there at the end is if it is not at the surface, it has a fail-safe that the way it rises is it releases like 1,000 pounds of lead weights, and that causes it to rise at a controlled rate so you don't get the bends. And if the crew is incapacitated, it has a mechanism to cause the weights to drop, and it comes up on its own. And this was a couple of days ago. He gave this interview, and he realizes there's family members. So he was trying to be gentle about it a couple of days ago. But the facts of the matter are that the entire trip, descent, exploration, and rise to the surface, was to be between 10 and 12 hour total. 10 and 12 hour total. The oxygen reserves of 96 hours were the very outside hopefulness. I've heard anywhere between 70 and 96 hours. So the most optimistic is 96 hours, which would say that they would the situation would be considered hopeless sometime tomorrow, Washington time, after lunch or 2 o'clock or something like that. It's over. But that could also be backed up by 20 hours, namely right now, if they were in there. Now, I think the family, I know Scary was mentioning we will be seeing something from the family. They did have, I think, the wife of one of the passengers, the French Navy captain that's with them, yesterday, and she was emotional, and I think they know. I think they know that it's over. And miracles happen. Miracles happen. But from what I put together from that very seasoned submariner we heard at first, and from this gentleman who designed Cameron's submarine, and he made it out of all metal. He made it according to the specifications. He didn't use this, as was said, radical hull material. Okay, his portholes were very thick, small, and strong for James Cameron to go down. And but I think they know. I think what happened, they said halfway down, communications stopped. That tells me the hull failed. And just as this gentleman described it, it's like a beer can. Actually, it's quicker than that. It's like the speed of popping a balloon, okay? But it's popping inwards, okay? A crushing action. And that would shut down everything, communications, catastrophic death. It's over. And I think that is more than likely what happened. They claim that it could have come to the surface. And as this man just said, it should have some device on there, a locating device. And it's the first thing I thought of last night. What popped in my head was called an EPIRB. Let me see if I went and got a screenshot of that. An EPIRB. It is a emergency positioning device. I don't know if I have a shot of that. I have to go out of the studio to get it. But I may have it in here. Here you go. Let me put this up. Here you go. Emergency positioning indicating radio beacon. And it's a type of emergency locator beacon for commercial and recreational boats. Portable battery-powered radio transmitter used in emergencies to locate boaters in distress in need of immediate rescue. They're not expensive, especially for something people are paying $500,000 a piece. Now, I don't think there's anything suspect about this. The one young man earlier video I played said that this was the one window of opportunity this year to take down people. One window of opportunity in the weather this year to do a manned exploration. And if you've got $1 million riding on that one window for the whole year, you think people might cut corners? Especially when one of their last trips last year in a different vessel, not this vessel, maybe the one with the smaller porthole, got down on the bottom, but they couldn't find the Titanic for 2.5 hours, and they had to come back up. And he promised the people that spent $500,000 a piece, or $250,000. I was saying $500,000 because I'm thinking of the father-son team. But $250,000, instead of refunding them money, he promised them a future trip where they would actually find the Titanic. So there was talk that there was going to be lawsuits of fraud from last year's failure. So this go around, they had one window for the entire year, and this was it. So that may be what compelled this guy to go ahead and volunteer and go down with them. And give you an idea of what here's pictures of the whole group. That's all 5 of them that are gone. I could, miracles happen. But the way they communicate is text messages. And the past failures, none of them I heard included a loss of communication. And from what I understand, that would indicate a destruction of the equipment to send or receive texts. So that's their way of communicating is text messages. And for them to suddenly lose the ability to communicate, here's an idea of the depths we're talking about. Let me see. How deep is the Titanic wreck? You can see here, Statue of Liberty, 305 feet. Eiffel Tower, Empire State Building, 1,250 feet. Grand Canyon. Let me expand that a little bit so you get an idea. It's over double the depth of the Grand Canyon. And apparently the Burj Khalifa is the tallest building at 2,717 feet. Yeah, it's pretty deep. So I think it was over. If they would have lost communication, the first thing they would do was go to the surface. They came to the surface over many smaller things last year. They just stopped everything. Now here's a brief clip of the sounds that were giving people hope. I'll cut my mic off and play it. So I played that twice. That's a pretty thin thread to hang your hat on. That was them in the first place. They can isolate particular sounds. That there are a lot of vessels around there. It could have been somebody doing something on another craft and not even knowing that they were causing something that sounded like a attempt at a rescue. So, there's a lot of things to think about there. I want to see if I played all the... here's a map to give everybody a sense of where in the North Atlantic they are. You see Boston, and they are 370 nautical miles, about 400 miles from St. John's. And if you lay that line out, I would say they're about 700 miles from Boston. And that's the thing. I see Cheshire says wreck is probably haunted. The Titanic is a grave site. And I remember the controversy and discussions about going down there, especially about removing anything. It's been over 100 years. I'm sure you all have seen underwater images. There's a certain bacteria that is actually eating the metal. In another 50 years, it's going to look like a muddy rust pile. It already looks that way now in many cases. You're looking at a macabre gravesite. Why would you risk your life and your son's life to go down there? You taking a look at the psychology of this. I can see why Donald Trump Jr. would say, there's got to be something to this. It doesn't make sense. Well, your father, this would not make sense because I can guarantee you Donald J. Trump would not get in that little submarine, and he certainly wouldn't bring you along. So Donald was raised by a different kind of very rich person. You have some people, this individual was on a commission with the royal family for investigating UFOs. He was, I would say, a little bit more of a fantastic thinker than Donald Trump, who is a realist. And you can bet that before anything like that, hey, I was able to find out last night, within an hour, all the things I discussed. Pioneers in deep sea diving, condemning that design. The fact that this sub and one of the passengers put out on social media that this is the maiden voyage of a new design. What were they thinking? And when you get down there, you're looking at something that is so rotten and deformed. Why would you do that? Why would you put your own life and your son's life in jeopardy? There's a meme somebody came up with. And it's not a laughing matter. But people like the captain, the guy who runs the company, made very cavalier statements about safety. Did not appear to me to be taking equipment seriously. Putting too much faith in Bluetooth. And I piloted vessels, okay? I had a friend of mine, he had a boat that it had a bow thruster in the front. It was a big boat. It's like 60 feet long. And you go to dock that thing. He said, go ahead, you use this little toggle switch. I'm like, toggle switch? Okay. Hey, if it hadn't got hard wires going to it, cables going to it, that if something goes wrong, I can go down there and fix. I don't like it. So sure enough, you're trying to use this bow thruster to push the bow over against the dock or to get the boat in a slip, which is nerve-wracking. And the bow thruster didn't get the little radio signal from the toggle switch up on the fly bridge. Okay, and if I didn't have knowledge and ability of how to operate that boat without a bow thruster, which I did, and was able to dock that vessel. That thing could have hit a dock and busted up something pretty bad, or hit another vessel and sunk it, or anything. So that was my experience, was a friend with too much money and not enough brains. And I think that might have been the case here. Putting too much faith in this wireless stuff, and I'm afraid people lost their lives over it. And I could be wrong. It could be that that they are floating around out there and they didn't think enough to have an EPIRB. Oh, we don't need an EPIRB because our mothership could see us with binoculars. The other thing is the boat is white. Very difficult spot in the open ocean. Very difficult. It should be a bright orange. So anyway, I've gone way over because I do have a bit of a background in ships and things like that. So, and I want to say, from 1%, folks, 1%. But anyway, here's frantic search, 12,500 feet. If they found it, and it was submerged and they were alive, there would be no way to retrieve them. If they're on the surface and don't have an EPIRB to locate them or a similar device, they can't open the hatch from the inside. And if they did, it will sink very quickly. But they can't. So with no color to be able to single out during a visual search, no beacon, emergency beacon, EPIRB, they're doomed unless somebody stumbles across them. But the thing is, with the 10 to 12 hour expected journey, the automatic release of the weights would have already occurred days ago. And so with the failure of communication, just sudden failure of texting communication, that tells me that thing probably is crushed, laying down there at the bottom. And one chance, one window this year, you got $1 million being waved under your nose. You have a lot of faith in wireless technology. You're going down in a never before tried prototype. That's what happens. Okay, folks, I've gone on too long. I appreciate a lot of people have dropped off because of my droning on and on. I appreciate you all spending your time with me. And keep in mind what Durham told that clown. My reputation I worry about with the people I respect, my family, and my Lord. In other words, he could care less what the detractors think, just like I have to tell myself I could care less what these clowns were saying in the comments of that MSNBC video I played earlier. These fools. Weird to see someone spend so much time confessing to his crimes on tape and still hasn't managed to make it to a prison cell. No, I don't care what they say, okay? They can be dumb forever for all I care. All right, folks. You all have a great night. Hit the subscribe and notification bell. If you haven't done that already, you'll know when I go live, and I'll do a shorter live stream in the future, and you'll be notified so you can join us. So you all have a great night, and we'll say a prayer for these people. It's a shame, especially about that young man. It's a shame about them all, and it's sad. And I did want to say about the Titanic that it is a gravesite. And you can only take so many pictures. I mean, look at how many bodies there are on Mount Everest. Think about that. Mount Everest is not cheap to go on a climb. Over $10,000. Just fees, never mind getting there. People with money, I'm afraid, do stupid things. There are a lot of dead bodies on Mount Everest. There are a lot of fingers and toes on Mount Everest. But every year they come. Okay? So hopefully a lesson will be learned from this. And anyway, we'll talk some more next time I go live. You all have a great night. This is Mountain Man, over and out.